Hello, Stampers. My name is Linda Bedinger, and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Denver, Colorado. And there's my buddy Puccini. That's lately where he started hanging out in my office. I put a big plastic shoebox back there, which is usually where I put my supplies for my card classes. And I put one on my desk, and he's climbed in it, and he sleeps in there, and he watches what happens. And he stays a little bit more out of my work if he's got his own box. So that's where he is, kind of getting ready. You can see the sleepy eyes coming on there. He's getting ready to nod off and fall asleep. Anyway, that's my buddy Puccini, and he helps me in the craft room, or creates havoc in the craft room at the very least. And today I have a fun card. Not really so much fun. It's a card that I made. And I think the original card was just a note card. And I decided it made an absolutely fabulous sympathy card. And so I'm going to turn it into a sympathy card because unfortunately I need one. And I thought I would share that with you today. And let's just get started. I think you're going to like it. Here is my card. And on this one, I used these dies that are called Gorgeous Garden Dies. And it's got this beautiful leaf pattern here and a pretty floral pattern that it cuts out. And when it's cut out, it comes out like this. And very slim border. If any border, you could certainly cut all of that border off. This one would be a very good one to use adhesive sheets to get that stuck down. Now, I didn't do that, so I'm going to be putting glue on the back of mine. And so hopefully I'll be able to do that, and you'll be able to see exactly what it is I'm doing as I'm doing. All right. So what I used to make this card is I used this card base, and I did this one top folding. So this one is 11 inches long by 5.5 by 4.25, pardon me, scored and folded at 5.5. And I'm doing this a little closer to the paper, and hopefully I've got a good angle on this for you. And I've got, I think, better lighting on this for you. Well, we'll see as time goes on here, but so far, I think this is going to work out pretty well. Okay, so we've got that. Then I have, I'm using this beautiful paper that's, I think it's called In the Meadow. I'll put the exact name on the screen, but it's got all of these beautiful landscapes in here. And what I did was, because this is 6 by 6 paper, I cut this paper in half. So the patterns that will work the best, if you take a look here, and on these, I just kind of measured across. So 3 inches on this one would make my line right about here. So there would be something interesting to look at on this side that had more of this, and you could cut a little bit of the sky off to get it to come out the way you want. And on this side, there would still be a little bit of this tree and this little tree and the mountains, and I think that would work on this side. There's some of these that probably wouldn't work as well. This one has a beautiful scene on either side. That paper would work well. This one would work well. There's several that would, and there's several that might not. I'm not sure about this one, because this one at 3 inches is right about here. So you would have something kind of interesting on this side, and this side would have the water and the mountains and the flowers in the background. So I think that one might work pretty well. But there's a couple in here that I don't think will work as well, like this one. If you divide this one in half by 3, and the reason I'm dividing it by 3 is I want to get 2 cards out of each sheet of paper. And so I made the dimensions of this card such that if you divide the paper in half this way, then you can trim it from the top and or from the bottom to get something interesting to look at for your piece on the front of your card. So, and like I said, I think this is called something meadow paper, but I'll put it up on the screen for you. Then the greens in this, I used Mossy Meadow because that seemed to pick up most of the pretty greens in the card. So this is the other half of the piece that I did my card from. So as you move this along here, maybe it goes kind of like that, is how this paper, you can see down here in the flowers, how they go across. I think that's how this one was. And so I cut a little bit off the bottom of this one and a little bit off the top. On this one, mostly I cut off what was at the top. And so I wanted to be able to use both. So I'm going to use this one for this card. And this is then 3 inches. I believe it was 4.5. Yeah, 4.5. So this piece is 3.25 by 4 3/4. And then this was however big the die was, and then I trimmed it as close as I thought I could get away with on the sides of this, just to get as much of the leaf pattern to be on the front of the card here, just like that. Okay, then for the inside of the card, I have a piece from another one that had similar kind of flowers in it that is a 1/2 inch wide by, let's see, what is this one by? 5 and looks like 3/8. So 5 3/8, and then I have a little strip of the Mossy Meadow for 5 3/8 by 7/8, so that this can sit on top of this, and that is what decorates the inside of the card. And you'll notice that I've used my blending brush, and I use my blending brush on the outside of this as well, because this is so stark white on here that bothered me. So what I did was I took a piece of scratch paper here, and I used my blending brush that I had been using with my green ink, and I used my Mossy Meadow ink, which I have right here. Move this out of the way for the moment. And then I took my card front, and the only parts that are going to show is right along the edges and a little bit more on this side. And then we need quite a wide swath of it for the inside to have that same kind of look. So I just put this in my Mossy Meadow ink, and I dusted a little bit of it off, and I went around and put some of this pretty Mossy Meadow around the edge of my card here. And this is the place it's going to show the most. So that's where I concentrated my efforts. And again, you just pick up some ink. This side needs very little, just a little down the side. And again, if you start off the card and you come in a circular motion, once you take off the blunt part of the ink. So I hit it here and then come in, and if you do it circular motion, you don't ever get a big blob. And there, I think that's plenty for the front of the card, so that when we put our green piece on, it's not so stark white behind it. And I like that look a lot better. And this panel's going to fit over the top, so there's no need to do that. And then on the inside, what I did was I put that same kind of shadowing along this edge. And I think I was a little heavy-handed with the other one. So I'm going to add just a little bit on the inside of this one, not quite as much. And there we go, just like that. We have enough of a decoration for the inside of the card, and still plenty of room to put your message in. So that's what we're going to do with the ink so far. Now for my sentiment for this one, I chose this Heartfelt Sympathy from Seaside Bay in the catalog. I kind of like that one. I like the font. Some of the other look just like sloppy writing to me, so that's the one I chose. Anyway, so the very first thing we're going to do is bring out my silicone mat here, and I'm going to add some glue to the back of this. And for this piece, I'm going to put this with my dot runner because there's so many open spaces here, and I think that the seal would make this very challenging to work with. So I'm trying to go with the direction of the leaves and put some glue. Oops, that piece broke off. That's all right. We'll piece it back together when we put it on the card. And you can see why, if you did this with those double-sided sticky sheets that we have, that Stampin' Up has, you'd be able to just peel the back off and it would have the sticky part showing. And for some reason, I cannot remember to do that when I die cut these. But it works beautifully, and this will work as well. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to get it here. I think I want this edge that has almost no border on it on this side. Stretch that into place so it covers the top part of the card all the way to the top here, and then as close to the bottom edge as I can get it, and put that into place. Then I'm going to use my glue eraser as I search for areas where there's a little bit of glue showing, or there's a string or something there that I need to get rid of. And so that I clean this up a little bit. It's tricky when it doesn't have any border on the edge to get this to come out exactly right, but you can. You work with it enough and you can get it the way you want it. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is to take my two pieces of this card and I'm going to put some glue on the back of this one. And I'm using my seal for this, and get that placed on the back of this card, or the front of this card, and get that put into place. And I just think it makes such a lovely sympathy card. And then what I did was I used this wavy, what do they call it? Natural wavy trim. And what I wanted to do was tuck a little piece of this under one side just to give another kind of texture on here. So I'm going to just stretch that across. Here comes my buddy to help. He will undoubtedly make an appearance. Tail and all to get into the picture. He can't stand not being involved in the process here. And when I put this piece down along this edge, and because that edge is so funny, I think I may move this all the way over to the edge of this. And Puccini, sweetheart, I need you to go someplace else. Find something else to do. Yeah, there you go. All right. And then I'm going to use some dimensionals on the back like I did on this one to raise that piece up, and then I can lay my jute down on there. So I'm going to add some dimensionals to the back of this piece. And then put that into place. You know, I might just move that all the way down into this corner like that. Now, this piece of, I call it jute. I don't, it's their natural wavy trim. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick some glue underneath that and tuck that all along underneath that edge, just like that. So again, I'll bring in my silicone mat and my dot runner, and get that completely glued up and see if I can't put that into place on my card. There we go. Just like that. And I will probably trim off these little tails on this end just because it's going to be annoying to see those. So there I've got my added element of some texture and this, and now I'm thinking that I need to put my heartfelt sympathy, and I think because this greenery up here is so light, and I should have stamped that before I got my piece on there. So I'm going to have to figure out how to do that. Maybe I can still lift this piece and get that dimensional off of there. Do what I do, not what I do, what I say, not what I do. So I'm going to take those two top dimensionals off of there, and then I'm going to use my Mossy Meadow ink. This is what you can do. Since I just put them down, they're pretty pliable to come up. That's still nice and flat. And so I can get my, that's not a very juicy thing. I'm going to re-ink that. I'll go off camera and re-ink my ink pad here. Okay, so I've got that re-inked. So I've got my heartfelt sympathy here. I'm going to put in that ink, get it good and inked up, and try not to get those edges, and then stamp this right across here at the top. See how I did? Looks perfect. Okay, so I did that right on the DSP. So, and if you misstamped it somehow, you could always add a little label on there with your sympathy piece on there. So there we are. That's just all we needed. This one is just a note. This one is heartfelt sympathy. I think that makes a lovely sympathy card. All right. The next thing I did was use some of these little birds that we have. And I think I put 3 of them on, and I think I can still do that. Just dot them around the card here so that they look like they make sense for what you're doing. And there we go. That's the front of the card completely decorated. Now for the inside of the card, let's see, what did I do here? I just used the back of the card, and we've already inked this one up. So I have this piece, which I'm going to add some glue to. And put that in place right along the edge with a very tiny margin on the outside and the top and the bottom. And then I have my cut piece of this beautiful designer series paper. And I think as it's so skinny, I'm going to use dot runner glue on it and get that put in place from the top to the bottom of that piece. And, you know, straight would be better. And there we go. Very simple little card. Oh, I got to put my dimensionals back that I took off from before. So what I'm going to do is peel my dimensionals and put it on my pick tool and set that down and then pull my pick tool out. So I'm going to do one of those on either end. You be smarter than me and get your stamping done before you put your piece on dimensionals. So you don't have to do what I did. The other thing you can do is use a pair of scissors and cut them in half and then put a glue dot between them and then put them back. But I needed mine to be flat. So that is that. So there is my project for the day. Thank you so much for stopping by my YouTube channel today. I do so appreciate it. And if you don't already have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, well, I'd love to be your demonstrator, or you could join my team. It's always a good time to join Stampin' Up, $125 worth of product for $99. And I think on this one, I got the lighting a little bit better, although there's a shadow over here. And that might just be my camera. And so we'll keep working on this scheme. I think I like this a lot better because it's not so easy for me to go off camera because the picture of what I'm doing is right in front of me and I can see it. So that's it for me. And as I work towards getting back full time here, Tuesdays and Fridays for videos, I'll start working on my blog this week and have that back up. I will have the new host code up on that today because I don't have it here, but I will see that it's put in the video or is shown on my blog. So that's it for me, and I'll be back soon with more cards, more projects, and more tips. Bye.